Hello my friends and welcome back to Annelies Journaling. This will be part 2 in my series of making a journal from scratch for newbies or for those who want some updates or new ideas maybe. It will be simple and everyone can follow. So today we are going to start making the journal. So take the paper that you have and that will be your signatures, and we will do 2 piles of paper and make signatures from that. Use what you have and we will see what we can do. Kind of fell out some different papers here. I have just gathered a few things that I think could be good to use in this project. This was a already folded paper, so let's use that. This is just some coffee dyed paper, and now is the time when you decide the size of your journal, or at least almost. And I'm thinking I will fold this a little bit smaller so that I maybe can do a fold out kind of flip. So I'm folding the paper like this, so you have that little extra piece to use for something fun. So I leave that for as it is, and this one I will just fold as it is. So I'm folding them a little different just because it can be fun to show you some different way to use these folding pieces. In case you have a beautiful paper and don't want to cut it, then you can do like this, and we can use it as a pocket or maybe put something on it as a flip. And I'm going to use mostly white papers because that's what everyone have at home. I'm going to use a few of these digitals and show you the difference and how you can use those two. But you don't need them. You can go with the white paper. We are going to decorate them so you can see how to get it to work with white papers too. But in case you want to use some of your own made paper or something kind of like this, I will use some different papers. And I don't mind that the script is the wrong way. When I started doing journals, I had a very difficult to have papers like this. I thought it looks like I have thrown it into the journal by mistake. But my brain has made me think a bit different and just think it as a background, because you're going to put other things on top of it. But if you don't like it that way, you can just fold it like this. But I'm going to fold this like this at this time. We can take another one and do the opposite have another one that we can use and do the other way. If you would like to leave the white edges, it's also up to you. The best thing with making journals is that there actually isn't so many rules. You can choose to make it the way you like it or have seen someone else do. So let's fold this the other way, just so I can show you how to use that, even if it's so thin. This is printed on these kind of thin papers that you wrap things in when you move, protecting things that can break during transportation. You get them when you buy presents, or when you can buy them when you are going to move from house to house. And you need to wrap your plates or glasses in something. So it's a bit thinner, but I like the feeling of different. Okay. Then do like this, and we can fold it anyway. And make that kind of like this. Can use it anyway. No problems. Don't throw anything away. We are doing a combined junk and diary journal kind of. You can print the papers on both sides if you would like to have that, but I'm still have this feeling that I want to have a few pages that I am kind of making from scratch. So not everything is kind of done. Personalize it even if I have printables. So how many papers do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We need a few more. This is digital, but I have printed my own from old embroidery pattern books. So you can make your own. If you rather like it that way. I think I will fold this like this, just for some differences. So what more do we have? I actually have one that is printed on 2 sides like this, so let's use that too. So we have that option on the journal too. I want to thank you for all kind comments on my first video, even if it wasn't so much tutorial like, but I thought I needed to show you a bit different kind of journals and what options we have. Like that. So do we going to use one more maybe? I have this one. This is a print from a wallpaper. Taking off the white edges on this one too. This was a bit thicker paper. So now I have at least 3 or 4 different thickness of papers. Like that. So to get some differences, we are going to use some other paper too. And to starters, I'm going to use one of my printed eco-dyed papers. You can find these on Etsy if you don't want to print or make your own. I love to use them. They give kind of a little bit of more life into the journal. Don't go and buy a lot of things if you don't think you need. Use what you have, but if you want to do it, you can find them in my Etsy shop and on a lot of other people's Etsy shops. So I love them and I love to make them. I mostly use them as originals, but this time I actually wanted to have it a bit lighter, so I took a copy so it wouldn't be so dark, as I want to have it as a kind of writing space, I think. So a piece of tracing paper, love that too. So let's use this. You might ask if you are going to do the signature first or the cover first, and the most practical thing is to do the signatures first. That way you can see how many papers you want to have in without making it looking like a crocodile mouth. I think I will save that Then I want to have some antique old book paper. I'm going to try to find these ones that are together still. You can find these one also in my Etsy shop. I have some old antique 1800 old book paper there. But you can just take an ordinary book like this and use up the papers. Make sure that it's not something that is not nice to have as a print in your journal. So make sure you have a book that isn't writing about something ugly or things we don't want to read about, because you still will be able to see the text. So I mostly use Bibles or things that I'm sure is okay for most people. So as you can see, these are a bit broken, so we can't use them as they are. So we're going to mend them so they will be a bit stronger. So I'm just taking a piece of bed linen. This is some old ones that I have bought with embroideries on. And when you have cut out the embroidery, you have a lot of textile left. To use for things like this. So I'm just ripping it in 3 pieces like this. And then we are going to glue it onto the book page. I'm using these as glue books, so I can put them under my things that I'm gluing, so I won't get glue all over my table. It's just ordinary books that is new and not so fun to work with. I'm using the covers and then this as a glue book. I'm just putting glue on both sides of the spine. Be careful with the old papers, they are so fragile. This way we will have a spine that will hold and be secured. Sometimes I need to do it on both sides, but mostly it's okay with one. Like that. And then we have another double page for the journal. I'm going to do one more and also put these French papers together. But you don't need to see me do it 3 times, so I will be back in a second. I thought I could show you another thing that it's a bit fun. If you're going to use this at the spine and you think that white is kind of boring, we can give it some color. I'm using Distress Ink Vintage Photo just to make it look a bit old. So then I'm just putting on a few strokes of this. Just not so white. And then I'm taking my stamp and stamp some patterns on it. Like that. Right away it's a bit more fun than just white. So these one are loose, so I'm just putting them in position where I want them and do the same thing. Then I'm putting the textile onto the papers. Making sure it's glued down properly, and then I fold it. I thought we could use some music paper too, and these are also some old ones, so they are a bit fragile. So I'm going to do the same with these ones. I'm folding them in the middle, and then I'm just going to make them a bit smaller. I'm saving these old pieces of paper. They are beautifully yellow. Old looking. I like the vintage style. And you can of course do this in any style you want. If you like bright colors, use papers with bright colors on, or print them bright. I'm kind of a neutral vintage kind of girl, so I like it when it's a bit more subtle and soft. So another thing you can do is to use lace for the same purpose. So I thought a piece of lace to this old book could be fun. Checking for the right length of it. Almost I'm leaving a little bit just for fun. See if we can rip this maybe. Not so good, so then let's cut it. Some textiles is easier than other to rip and get this style of bit more wild. So as this also are a bit old, I will give it some extra strength with this piece of textile. Some just use them as they are, but I mostly sell my journals, and I want to be sure that these will hold for a long time. When you are doing the journals for your own purpose and maybe are going to use them as diary and write in them for a short time, you can skip this part and just use the paper and hope they will hold. So one more thing, I thought we could use some piece of old, this is from 19 something, it was ripped off. You can see 1938. This is kind of how a journal can look when you have too much signatures. Crocodile mouth. Now we got a reminder of that too. So I'm just folding this. And this is also fragile paper. You can see I don't need to touch it, it will rip quickly. And I'm just folding it the same way. And we are going to put something in the middle. I'm thinking if we have something else we could use. Maybe another piece of lace of some sort. Trying to find something that is a bit light, not so thick. I think I will go with some seam binding. That's also fun to use. I'm going to show you a little trick. Seam binding will ruffle up and lose all its thread like that. But if you carefully use some fire and just burn the edges a little bit, you can stop this from wrapping up. It's kind of melting together, so you don't need to get all this thread all around hanging about. And it can also rip everything and destroy your work, but it's up to you if you want to have a lot of threads or if you want to have it neat. I mostly do it because I'm afraid that it will rip too much and something will break. This way I'm sure it won't move and won't break anything. So that's cute too, to use seam binding as a way to give it some strength. Like that. Okay, I think that will be enough for the signatures. So let's see if we can put them in a couple of piles. leaving these for now so they can dry a little bit more. So let's start with these. This one maybe also should have had a piece of something that will give it some strength. So let's use the rest of the seam binding, I think, or should we use, maybe it's more beautiful with lace on this one. So let's go for this one more time. Kind of love these dots. Don't need so wide piece. Just something little to hold it in place. It's the same glue, I'm just have them in different bottles. So I can use them with different purposes. Leave that also to dry a little bit. So let's start with the white ones. I think I had 4 of those, so then we can put 2 in each. Come on. 2 in each signature. Two. Like that. Am I in frame? So, and then I have this one that is, let's go for the blue one. And I had another, did I have another blue one? No, maybe this is a bit blue, yes. And then we have this white one with text. And we had 2 of these. 1 blue and 1 blue. 1 text and 1 text. And 1 print. And 1 print. So then we had this one and another blue, and we had a French one and another with some prints, and we had an old one and an old one, and then we had the music paper. So let's put that in a pile. And then we can take this piece of fake envelope. So then we have the same amount of papers in both piles. Like that. And then you're going to decide which paper you would like to see when you open your journal. First, or first in the signature. And I'm going for this blue one, and then I'm putting another blue behind it in case that you are going to see something peeking out, but it wasn't anything that was doing that. When you put in the small paper, make sure that you put it either down here or up there, because we are going to do 3 holes that will be kind of one in the middle, and then we are going to put one kind of there and one there. So if you put this like so, you will get 2 stitches in this one and it will hold it in place. But if you have a smaller kind of like this and you just sew it in the middle, this will wiggle. So if you have smaller paper, make sure that you at least have them so they will be sewn in 2, like that. Yellow one and the old one and the thin one and this old one and then I'm going to put in one of these between the printed ones, like that. And then we have one signature done. Let's do the same with the other one. I think I want to use this transparent one as the first page. And I want something beautiful to see under it. So this one would be nice with the blue, but I'm thinking this eco dyed paper would kind of be even nicer. Then you have this beautiful patterns that you can see through it. Like that. So then we are going to do the same thing. I'm putting a printed one and I'm taking a white one, kind of thinking that this can be one printed and one plain, one printed and one plain. And now when I did get to the middle, I have this old music paper, and I don't want to have that in the middle where I'm going to sew. I want a new one that is kind of more strong. So I will shift and take the white paper and put the music paper there instead. So I get a strong one in the middle. So this will be more sturdy to sew in. Like that, we have signature number 2 done. So now we can see how thick this is when we press it together. You can see it's not so thick. When I do this and put in the signatures, to make sure that I have a spine that will be enough when I have decorated, I'm thinking that the signature need to be at most 1/4 of the spine. So let's say that this pile will be, it's 1/3 of an inch. So then the spine should be about 1 inch. Then I have a lot of place to fill this up, so it won't look like this when it's done. So somewhere between 3/4 of an inch or 1 inch at least, so it won't be too small. It's more fun to fill it up with more things than to take them out, so it's better to have a wide spine than to have a too small one. So you can of course put this in a paper just as it is, and maybe do just one big signature. But I want to do this so you can see how I do a kind of journal that isn't too easy. If you're going to learn, you can learn the hard way, I think. So you can do a bigger one later if you would like to. Okay, then we know that the spine needs to be about 1 inch. So now you need to decide if you want the cover to cover all these papers, or if you wanted to leave the papers so they can peek out. You can also cut them down, so you get them all to the size that you would like to. Kind of this white paper, you can cut that down a little bit so they are not too wide, and the same with the old paper. But I think we can manage to do this with the paper as they are. The only thing we need to do is to do something with this that is so long. So let's put that away and find this one. So to get this to work, we need to cut this down, and this hasn't so much writing, so we could cut it if we would like to, but I'm thinking I will do like this instead. I will fold it, and then we can make a pocket or a top spot from it instead. And that's just a fun thing to do, so I think I will do that. I will decide maybe to take this a little bit off, just so it's easier for you to see. Now you can see they are more even on all sides. And this is where the print ends, and we have this white piece, but this is now printed on both sides, and I don't want to cut this. So then I'm leaving this white piece and decorate it some way instead. So make sure if you have double-sided print that you check both sides so you don't cut anything off that you want to have left. So these were the signatures. Try to move them around, and when you have done this, just do a little flip through of and look if it feels like these pieces are in the right position. Now you can see this is folding up a little bit, so you should maybe put something on this side too. And you can go just for tape or some washi or another piece of lace maybe. So to make sure that it's not will break. See if this is. So let's just take this seam binding and use that so we secure this old paper. And sometimes you don't see this right away, but when you do a flip through, they have often become bended, and you can see that something needs to be done to keep it nice and flat and strong. So then this will be, and we have. So I'm going to do the same for the signature in the middle. I want to have this a bit extra strong as it's going to be sewn on top of the paper. This is also something that some will do it and some don't. They just think it's a paper journal, so you don't need to do anything about it. But I like it, so I'm thinking I will put something in the middle. This was a bit too short. Do I have something more? Can just take 2 pieces. I liked this thin piece. See if we have anything other that is a bit thin. Cheesecloth maybe. Now I can see I have a paper left here. So in one of the signature I have forgot to put in one of the papers. So we need to check that. That's also something I do sometimes when I flip them around and put them in different places. So take your time when you put it together. Move them around and look if it's kind of looks nice when you go through them. So I'm putting a piece of cheesecloth on each side. Let it peek out a bit, and then I will put this in the middle. it a little bit more glue as it's glued on top of the cheesecloth to make sure that it stays down. Do like this with your finger and see if it's loose. Then you can give it a bit more glue. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Checking the other one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. So then this one is going to be somewhere in this journal signature. So let's put it here. So I'm doing the same on this one. Put something in the middle to make sure that this will hold for the sewing in the signatures. Cheesecloth is fun to work with. It's a thin woven cotton piece. You can use it both for decoration and as a textile. Looks a bit like old book, what should we call it? The textile that you use when you sew in old books. This is the paper from an old spine, and then they had these ones to make them a bit stronger in the 80s when you couldn't do it with machines. So it looks kind of a bit like this 1800 textile that was used for book binding. So now it's secured. Like that. So make your signature until next time, and then you will be ready to start making the cover. I hope this isn't explained in a difficult way. I don't think I can do it so much more easy. But if you have any questions and maybe want me to show something another time, and if you're thinking about something that I have forgot, it's so easy when you do this all the time. You might be a bit blind for the things that a newbie can think it's hard to know. So please let me know if there is something I need to be a bit more clear about. And then I will see you next time. We will work a bit on the edges and on the white pages, and we will also make the cover. So thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon again. Until next time, bye bye from Sweden.